Well, it appears as though we've got a big problem with the SAVE Act, but people are still fighting for it, and that's the good news on that. But there's a big problem, and the big problem is, as President Trump has even said himself, the biggest problem in passing the Save America Act is the guy who's in charge of the Senate. What's the next move? I don't know, but all this came from Anna Paulina Luna, one of the people, I got to tell you, who's turned out to be awesome in fighting for this thing. Truly awesome. We'll get into that as well. The most satisfying thing that came out of yesterday's news was Kash Patel, as everybody could see was going to happen, has dropped a $250 million hammer on the fake news. Remember that big article that The Atlantic came out about him? He's a drunk. His aides couldn't wake him up. He parties too much. Yeah, he just may end that last dying gasp of a fake news propaganda outlet, because this is a massive lawsuit. And what you know about Kash Patel so far, maybe you don't like the way the FBI is going. Maybe you don't think there's enough arrests being made. Do you think that's a guy that's going to give up on a personal attack on him? I don't think so. Not at all. And we got one more sneaky big story. I call it a sneaky big story because there's a big change at the head of Apple. And you're thinking, I don't have any Apple stock. Why does it matter to me? All right, fine. That's fine. But I bet you have one of these, or somebody in your family does, because the tech experts say about 60% of us have iPhones. But you know what Apple's not doing recently? They are so far behind on AI. We always hear about AI. It's taking over the world. When's the last time you used Siri for anything on your Apple phone? Probably not recently. This is a sneaky big change that's happening there with a new CEO coming in. Anyway, we'll get to all this stuff. Thanks for hanging out with me, as always. I appreciate you, as always. Wicked Radio live stream, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on X and YouTube and Facebook, and the replay, and then the audio podcast. Let's get right to it. First and foremost, this is satisfying as hell, and we could all see it was coming. Remember The Atlantic, I think it was Friday, maybe Saturday, Friday, published this hit piece on Kash Patel, the FBI director. He's a drunk. Nobody likes him. His staff can't wake him up. He's ineffective. He's corrupt. He's a partier. He's incompetent. Everything you could possibly name. Now, ask yourself why they did that. We talked about this yesterday because he appears to be over the target. They never put out hit pieces on anybody that's ineffective because that's serving the purpose, right? The fake news loves those people. They used to love it. Well, why are there so many hit pieces these days? Because you have more people in government right now in this administration that are over the target and busting up corruption and illegal activity in the halls of Congress and people who want to interfere in elections. That's why. So that hit piece came out. But now he's dropped a $250 million lawsuit. Will he ever get that? No, but it's enough to put that disgusting propaganda outlet out of business. This is him talking to Maria Bartiromo in that interview over the weekend about all the allegations and exactly what he's going to do. We could all see it's coming. You know that this guy was going to fight back, and he has.
The Atlantic magazine director is alleging that you have a drinking problem, that it is getting in the way of your work running the FBI. What is your response this morning to this article?
Look, Maria, you and I have been at this together for a long time, whether I was leading the investigation on Russiagate back in the House or my time in the Trump admin one and now. And the results, I say, speak for themselves. If the fake news mafia isn't hitting you personally with baseless information in Washington, D.C., then you're not doing your job. And it's louder than ever because this FBI, under President Trump's brilliant leadership in backing the blue and backing law enforcement, this FBI has the most prolific year in crime reduction in the United States history. A 20% reduction in the homicide rate, a 20%.
And then he went on to the resume of wins, which is his right to do, and he's exactly right. And you may be thinking, well, it's not enough. I want to rest day one, the whole Pam Bondi. And she did that to herself, let's face it. The Epstein files are sitting on my desk right now, and then nothing happened. That's bad PR on her part. But think about who is getting most targeted, who has the most attacks against them through the fake news media right now. Him, Kash Patel, and Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence. What if they both most recently revealed that they're on top of? Think about it. Election interference in both 2016 and 2020. All of a sudden, all the hit pieces are coming out against them. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? I can't wait for this. I can't wait. Oh, and the Atlantic's response yesterday, we stand by our reporting. Oh, but do they? Because automatically what they did was the article about Kash Patel and dropping that hammer on him, where they tried to disparage him with all kinds of unnamed sources and allegations on all this other crap, they changed the headline already. Oh, That's another thing with online media. You can so easily edit things, can't you? Standing by your reporting as you've already changed the headline. So I can't wait for this. I think it's great. You know why I think it's great? Here's another reason why. We never used to see this. True, we never used to see these kinds of fake news attacks. It's always been fake news, obviously. It's always been run by, propagandists on which side. But it's never been so bad. But also, again, I always try to get all of us to look at the positive in this. Look for the wins, because there's a lot of wins. The fight back is the win. You never used to have people fighting back like Kash Patel is. This was a rarity until, hate to say it, and maybe you don't want to hear it, until Trump came along and he started suing fake news outlets like the BBC and won to the tune of close to $100 million. There's no basis whatsoever in what the Atlantic published. What leg do they have to stand on? We're standing by our reporting, even though we changed the headline already. They're going to get destroyed. And then some other fake news outlet will pop up, and then another one, and you'll fight back, and they'll go away, and that's until they're beaten down into irrelevance. And that's what's happening. So good for him for fighting back. Yes, it's disgusting that this kind of fake news still exists, but again, you got to look for the good news. The fight back is happening, and that's great. I can't wait for Discovery, what they find with this whole thing. I can't wait. All right, this was the disturbing thing that came out yesterday, but again, at least people are aware of it. I don't know what the next move is going to be from President Trump, but he's well aware, and in fact, he said it publicly, that his biggest enemy in getting the Save America Act passed, securing our elections, voter ID, no more days after Election Day, mail-in ballots coming in, all of that crap to secure our elections. The biggest threat to that is the guy that's leading the Senate right now, John Thune. We've known it. He's known it. Everybody's known it, but pretty much not completely, totally confirmed until yesterday. It was disturbing when a post came out on X from Representative Anna Paulina Luna, who said, just so America knows, after 2 weeks in recess, John Thune is no longer considering the Save America Act. What? I'm sorry? Huh? So that's got everybody all upset. But sometimes this has to come out, and you got to understand exactly who the players are and exactly who the bad players are, like Thune, to realize what's happening. We said it yesterday, as I played that clip for you from Tim Burchett from Tennessee, Congressman Tim Burchett, that his biggest obstacles in this aren't the Democrats. Are America's biggest obstacles, believe it or not, in passing the Save America Act aren't the Democrats. You know exactly what they're going to do. You know exactly where they're coming from. You can't count on their vote to secure elections, because that's how they win elections. The biggest threat are these useless, absolutely obstructionist rhinos in the Senate, and some in the House too, but the House already passed it twice. Why? We said it yesterday. Because they benefit from the status quo. They want to go back to the way things were, where they would constantly lose, and they would just acquiesce for the Democrats, and they would give them everything they wanted, because then they would go back to their home districts and say, we got to stop these Democrats. We got to stop the opposition. You have to put me back in office. And then they do it again. And then more years in Congress, and they go back to their home district again, and they say, they're doing it to us again. You got to put me back in office. And this endless cycle of crap that happens, and that's how we get a swamp where nothing absolutely happens. That's why they want the status quo. They make more. Useless politicians make more money and gain more power by losing. I know that makes no sense, but that's exactly what's happening here, and that's why we have a swamp. Not a swamp, we have a cesspool. That's what's going on. Well, there's good people in the Senate who are trying to get this thing done, like Mike Lee. He was all twisted off about it. He's the senator from Utah who's been pushing this, along with many others. He's upset about it, as you can imagine.
The American people want the Save America Act. The swamp wants FISA 702 reauthorized without any meaningful reforms. The Senate is doing it exactly backwards. We've got to get back on the Save America Act. We've got to get it passed. And if one's going to take precedence over the other, it sure as heck shouldn't be the one that Americans hate and the D.C. swamp wants. Let's get back to work on the Save America Act. That's what the American people want.
Well, that's the maddest I've seen him, I guess. And I can imagine what he's saying behind closed doors, as he should be, and that's good news. But back to Anna Paulina Luna for a second. She just did very recently talking about this with Catherine Herridge, great now formerly of CBS, but now an independent reporter. She sat down with her and she talked about what they're trying to do to separate. They're voting on FISA to separate the Save America Act from that, and then the plan is from Thune and others. This is a slow walk the Save America Act until it's too late to be effective in the midterms. That's the thing. So they can all come back and say, we passed it, we did this, we got this done. Well, it'll be too late for the midterms. It'll be absolutely useless. So, like we just said, you can go back to the status quo, keep losing elections, keep losing power, so you can go back to your home district and ask for more money and get back into office. That's the problem. This is exactly what she just outlined. I got to tell you, like I said, she's been one of the true fighters in all this.
Let's take that a step further. I mean, Republicans control the House and the Senate. Why can't they get the Save America Act, which requires evidence that you're an American and ID to vote?
John Thune is a problem. I do not like what he's done because he has every ability, and really it's him that's blocking voter ID. He has every ability to embrace the standing filibuster or remove the filibuster. Democrats are going to do it anyways. And by the way, the current form of the filibuster is a perversion of what it initially was. But there's this position in the Senate that people are, they need to protect the institution. I get protecting the institution, but let's also talk about what the institution's become.
Is John Thune
named Thune, by name? That's another rarity that never used to happen. He's the problem. That's her quote. He's the problem blocking this thing. She, hinted at exactly what the plan is, to slow walk that so that they can claim victory but actually do nothing, so go back to the status quo. That's the problem. She also hinted there that President Trump knows exactly what the game is. So here's our question. What's President Trump's next move? What are you going to do? You know what's happening. You know what's going on. He has said publicly so many times and for so many months, nuke the filibuster, get this thing done to secure our elections so you can win the midterms. Or Democrats are going to take power again. But here's the problem again, and it always goes back to this. You've got these useless handful of rhino senators, and some in the House too, that want that to happen. It's hard to believe, but it's true. They want to lose so they can stay in power. Not control of the House or Senate, but they're in their own personal power to get reelected to office. Again, and I'll say it again because this is the key to the whole thing, so that you can go back to your home district, fundraise, and you say, oh, help me stop these Democrats. They're in power again. Help me, reelect me. They get reelected. They lose again, go back to their home office, their home district, and they say, oh, you got to put me in office again. That's the whole freaking disgusting game. That's the problem. So I don't know what the next thing is going to be. If you want to look, as disturbing as this is, you got people like Thune and others slow walking this to be completely ineffective for the midterms. At least more people than ever are aware of what the game is. We know exactly what the game is. We know exactly what they're doing. And I would be willing to bet, and we don't know yet, that Trump has something up his sleeve to get this done. And maybe it's exactly what Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel have been looking at. Maybe they announced something massive about the recent election cycles that have been happening in these rhinos' home districts. Maybe they do that. Hey, your elections were fraudulent too. What are you going to do about that? And then maybe that'll force them, that'll browbeat them into passing the Save America Act. I don't know. You have to figure there's something else coming. You got to hope. But at least we're all aware of what this game is right now by Thune and others. Useless. Absolutely beyond useless. They're destructive because they're standing right in the way of getting the most simple, common sense legislation to secure our elections and therefore our future done. It's all right before them. But what also is right before them is their game plan. They don't want it to happen because they want the status quo. It's an amazing time. It's complicated by design, but once you break it all down, it's easy to see what the game is, and they're rigging it. So let's hope there's another move coming. We shall see. What's the recent poll? 80% of the country, that's Democrats, Republicans, Independents, want the Save America Act passed, and they can't do it. Yeah, that's on the up and up. Sure it is. All right, I'm going to call this a very quietly sneaky big story. It's because it comes from the business world, right? Tim Cook, remember Trump called him at a press conference during the first term. Thanks a lot, Tim Apple. Tim Cook, CEO, and he's been there a long time, of Apple, is stepping aside. He's not stepping down. He's going to be an advisor. He's on the board. It's whatever. They're shooing him off to the sidelines, in favor of a new guy that comes from engineering. Now, Tim Cook is a numbers guy. He's a finance guy. Apparently, reportedly, the guy that's going to be in charge of Apple now is an engineering guy. That means a tech guy. Sneakily, I think this is a big deal. And you're saying, I don't have any Apple stock. What the hell do I care? Okay, bet you got one of these. Or somebody in your family has one of these, or you know somebody that has one of those. Anyways, the tech people tell us they think the estimate is 60% of the country has an iPhone. Next up in line is an Android, obviously. Whoever is in charge of Apple is really in charge of how much information you see. Why do I say that? Because almost all of us now, sad or not, it's just a fact of the matter, get most of our information, most of our entertainment, most of our interpersonal communication, most of everything, news too, from this thing. So what's it mean? Wouldn't you assume then that the guy in charge of Apple, it's a pretty big deal? Let's go first to the news story about this thing and exactly what it's all about. Here are some of the details. This is a Silicon Valley news outlet. Just giving you some of the details.
The company says CEO Tim Cook is stepping down and moving into the role of chairman. Apple says John Ternus, the senior vice president of hardware engineering, will take over as CEO. Cook, of course, has led Apple since 2011 when Steve Jobs stepped aside shortly before his death. Right now, Apple.
That's a long time, really long time he's been in charge. I mean, Tim Cook has been around forever, and that matters. Here's what else has happened with Apple. Now, we all hear about AI these days, right? There's so much fear-mongering about AI, and it's true. It is going to take a lot of jobs. I think artificial intelligence is going to take out a lot of jobs, and Elon Musk says this too, of anybody that programs, right? That's consultants too, or programmers, or even consultants. A lot of those jobs within 5 years are going to be going away. It's just a fact of the matter. You can call it progress or not, whatever. It's the way it is. AI is here. It's massive. It's really important now. And going back to another thing that Elon says is that the good people win the AI race. Now, you hear a lot about Anthropic, OpenAI, Elon's own Grok, with everything going on there. It's really important to figure out who's going to win this AI race and which companies do as well. Apple has been so far behind in AI for a long time now, like years. They're like running last in the pack, which is weird to hear because technology-wise, because of Steve Jobs' inventions, they were so far ahead of everything, except for AI. Example, how often do you use Siri? And hopefully I didn't just set off your phone. That's their AI like thing. It's slow. It's often inaccurate. It doesn't work. Apple, for some reason, well, I think I know the reason, has been so far behind in the AI game. And that's what I think is behind this move. Tim Cook is an older guy. That's fine. Still a smart guy. That's not really the main issue. Here's the difference. He's a numbers finance guy. He's an analytics guy. This guy coming in as the new CEO is an engineer. He's a tech guy. That may mean all the difference. Here's one of the tech bros. There's all kinds of, like in Podcastistan, there's all kinds of tech, podcasters. And actually some of them are really good. But this guy does a really good breakdown of what this new guy's all about.
Big breaking news out of Apple. Tim Cook is stepping down as CEO after 15 years in the role. He joined Apple in 1998, but he's not leaving. He joins the board as executive chair. Taking over as CEO is John Ternus, Apple's longtime head of hardware engineering. This is a big deal because Ternus is not a finance or an operations guy. He's a hardware and engineering guy. He's a product builder. He's behind the iPhone, the Mac, and iPad, and has been for years. So what does this mean? Apple is signaling a shift. Under Cook, it became an incredible operations, massive growth in services story. Under Ternus, we're really expecting a renewed focus on products, chips, and on-device AI. This is the biggest leadership transition at Apple since 2011 when Tim Cook took over from Steve Jobs. But this time,
he said it right there. Exactly it. They're going from an analytics, numbers-driven company to one that goes back to innovation. There are a lot of people that will tell you, this iPhone right here, I have the Air, one of the new ones. It's not that much different than the designs that Steve Jobs had way back when before he died. He's been gone a long time. They haven't innovated anything. Cameras maybe, but the Android cameras are way better than Apple still to this day. And like I said, AI is so far behind. That may change. Again, why does it matter to you and me? Because most of us have one of these things. And depending on what kind of AI and who's programming AI and how efficiently it's designed with the AI information you get and how quickly you process your information, that determines how we go. This is a sneaky, sneaky big story. If they have a guy, and hopefully this new, head of Apple has his heart in the right place. This may determine really how people get their information coming in the future. Sneaky big move. And I think a good one. I hope. I don't know. All right, the takeaway, you got to fight. Fight like Kash Patel. Hopefully, fingers crossed, and realistically, none of us are going to have to sue a fake news outlet, right? But that's a large example of how you got to treat anything. You have to fight these days. We are just like with the Apple story. We're in the information age. When you come out with fake news and personal hit pieces against you, you got to fight like he is, and you knew that was coming. A $250 million lawsuit against the Atlantic. Good for him. And keep an eye on this SAVAC story. I don't know what the next move is. I can't imagine Trump doesn't have a second card up his sleeve on this one. If John Thune is slow walking this thing or trying to not get it passed, something's going to happen. Who knows what? Maybe by tomorrow we'll be talking about it. Who knows? But in the meantime, thanks for finding me. Live stream and the replay will be on X and YouTube and Facebook. Audio podcast listeners, new folks, you found it. Thank you so much. Subscribe, listen, like, download, share. I don't know. They're all different, but whatever podcast platform you like. Thanks for finding me. I will talk to you tomorrow. Make it a wicked awesome Tuesday.